Right. There is a lot to unpack here, and it all starts with a voice that actually knows what it is talking about. A former Celtic defender stepping forward and sharing genuine, first-hand insight always carries a different kind of weight, and this one hits on several layers of what has been happening behind the scenes at the club. From the ongoing search for stability in the dugout to the reality players have been dealing with physically and mentally, it paints a picture that goes far beyond what supporters see on match day. One of the most interesting parts of this discussion centers around a name that has quietly been building momentum. This is not just speculation pulled out of thin air. There is a real connection there, a shared history that gives credibility to the opinion being offered. When someone speaks about a manager they have personally interacted with, trained alongside, and understood on a deeper level, it removes the guesswork. What we are hearing is rooted in experience, not just observation. And the message is clear. The work being done at Motherwell has not gone unnoticed. It is being respected, even admired, but there is also a strong sense of realism about what the next step would actually demand. Because stepping into Celtic is not just another job. It is an entirely different environment where pressure does not build over time. It is there from the first minute. There is no adjustment period, no slow introduction. Every decision is scrutinized. Every result carries weight. And anything less than immediate impact quickly becomes a problem. That is something that cannot truly be explained unless you have lived it, and it is why so many promising situations elsewhere do not always translate when brought into this setting. At the same time, another storyline has quietly reemerged, and it is one that is already splitting opinion. The possible return of a familiar face always brings emotion into the conversation, and in this case, there is a genuine debate to be had. When Carl Starfelt left, he did so having established himself as a key part of a successful defensive unit. His partnership at the back had grown into something reliable, something supporters could trust, even if the early stages of his time at the club were not without challenges. Now, with his current situation in Spain approaching a turning point, the door is not completely closed on a new chapter. He has made it clear that he is open to what comes next, and that alone is enough to get people talking. There is no firm commitment where he is, and when a player with that level of familiarity with the club becomes available, it naturally raises the question of whether bringing him back would make sense. From a purely football perspective, the argument is straightforward. In a period where changes are expected and rebuilding is on the horizon, having someone who already understands the demands, the system, and the expectations could be a major advantage. There would be no settling in, no adaptation phase. He would know exactly what is required from day one. But football is never just about logic. Supporters will remember the highs and the lows, and opinions will differ on whether looking back is the right move when the focus is supposed to be on moving forward. While that debate continues to grow, another revelation has shifted how many are now viewing this season as a whole. The situation involving Kasper Schmeichel has been far more serious than most people realized. What might have been interpreted as inconsistency or decline now takes on a completely different meaning when you understand the physical condition he has been dealing with. Playing as a goalkeeper already demands absolute confidence in your body. Every movement, every reaction, every decision relies on that foundation. When you introduce a significant shoulder problem into that equation, it changes everything. Suddenly, actions that should be instinctive become uncertain. The smallest hesitation can be the difference between success and failure, and over time, that physical limitation starts to show in ways that are easy to misinterpret from the outside. What makes it even more remarkable is that he continued to contribute while dealing with it. Before the injury fully took hold, his impact had been clear. He brought experience, presence, and a level of assurance that lifted those around him. He quickly connected with the support and showed that even at a later stage in his career, he still had plenty to offer at this level. But football can be unforgiving, especially in a place where expectations are relentless. And that is where the emotional side of this situation really comes into play. Knowing now that he has been pushing through pain, that surgery is not just an option but a necessity, it forces a reevaluation of everything that has happened across the season. It is no longer just about performances. It becomes about resilience, about commitment, and about the reality of what players sometimes go through without it being visible to the public. At the same time, the timeline he is facing raises serious questions about what comes next. Recovery on that scale is not quick, And when you factor in his age and the length of time required to fully return, there is a very real possibility that we may have already seen his final appearance. That thought alone adds a layer of weight to everything that is unfolding, especially for someone who has given everything in difficult circumstances. And just when you think the story could not get any more complex, there is still the aftermath of one of the most chaotic managerial spells the club has seen in recent memory lingering in the background. That chaotic spell in the dugout still raises eyebrows when you look back at just how quickly everything unfolded. 33 days is barely enough time to understand a dressing room, never mind reshape a team in the middle of a demanding season. Yet that is exactly what happened, and the deeper insight now coming out helps explain why things unraveled at such speed despite the clear credentials the manager brought with him. Because make no mistake, this was not a case of someone arriving without a proven track record. The work done previously had been respected, the style of play had been effective, and there was a genuine belief that those ideas could translate. But timing in football is everything, and walking into a situation that already required immediate results left very little room for experimentation. What followed was a clash between philosophy and reality, and it became clear almost instantly that the balance was not right. The approach taken was bold, perhaps too bold for the circumstances. Changing formations, shifting players into unfamiliar roles, and trying to implement a new structure in such a short space of time created uncertainty on the pitch. Football at this level often comes down to instinct, to players knowing exactly where they need to be without thinking twice. When that instinct is replaced by hesitation, even for a second, it can be the difference between controlling a game and losing it. And that hesitation was visible. Movements became less natural, decisions were delayed, and the fluidity that had been built previously started to break down. It is not necessarily a reflection of the ideas themselves, but rather the context in which they were introduced. Trying to rebuild while also chasing results is one of the most difficult tasks in the game, and it demands a level of adaptation that was perhaps not fully embraced. There is also an important detail in the personality behind the approach. Being committed to a clear vision is often what separates good coaches from great ones, but there is a fine line between conviction and inflexibility. When a system is applied without adjustment to the environment, especially in a league where expectations are relentless, it can quickly lead to friction. The sense that it was one way or no way only added to the pressure, and in a place where patience is already limited, that pressure builds fast. All of that combined created a situation that became unsustainable almost as soon as it began. Results did not come quickly enough, performances lacked cohesion, and the gap between what was being asked and what could realistically be delivered in that time frame became too wide. It is a reminder that even strong ideas need the right moment to succeed, and without that, they can collapse before they ever have a chance to settle. While that chapter has now closed, the ripple effects are still being felt across the squad, particularly in positions where stability is crucial. And that brings the focus straight back to the goalkeeping situation, where one of the most difficult personal stories of the season continues to unfold. With confirmation that multiple surgeries are required, the reality of the road ahead has become impossible to ignore. A recovery period stretching close to a full year changes everything, not just for the player, but for the club as well. Contracts, planning, and squad structure all come into question when such a key position is suddenly uncertain. And in this case, there is an added emotional layer because of what the player has already given while dealing with the injury. Images of him already in a sling underline the seriousness of the situation. This is not a minor issue that can be managed week to week. It is a long-term problem that demands full attention and complete recovery, and that inevitably brings doubts about whether he will be able to return at the same level. At this stage of his career, that is a question no one can answer with confidence. In the middle of all this, the spotlight naturally shifts to the next option in line, and this is where the response has caught the attention of supporters. Stepping into that role under these circumstances is far from easy. It is not just about being ready on the pitch. It is about handling the weight of expectation, the comparison, and the emotional backdrop of how the opportunity has come about. What has stood out is the composure shown in dealing with it. There has been no sense of panic, no attempt to overplay the situation. Instead, there is a calm understanding of the responsibility, paired with a clear respect for the teammate he is effectively replacing. That balance is not always easy to find, especially for a younger player who suddenly finds himself in a position where every performance will be heavily analyzed. It also speaks to the culture within the squad, where support and professionalism can make a significant difference in moments like this. Learning from an experienced figure, even in difficult circumstances, can shape how a player approaches their own role. And now, with that transition happening in real time, it becomes an opportunity as much as it is a challenge. At the same time, the broader picture cannot be ignored. With potential changes in defense, uncertainty in goal, and questions still lingering around the direction from the touchline, this is shaping up to be a crucial period. Every decision made from this point forward carries added significance, not just for immediate results, but for the long-term stability of the club. And that is why discussions around potential signings, returning players, and managerial direction are not just background noise. They are central to what comes next, because the margin for error in this environment is always razor-thin. One strong decision can shift momentum quickly, but the wrong move can just as easily deepen the challenges that are already there. What makes this moment even more intense is the way everything seems to be happening at once. It is not just one position or one decision under the spotlight. It is multiple layers of uncertainty all colliding at the same time. Supporters are not only looking at who comes in or who steps up, but also at whether there is a clear direction guiding those choices. Because when a club of this size enters a transitional phase, clarity becomes just as important as quality on the pitch. There is also a growing sense that the next few moves will define more than just the upcoming season. They will set the tone for how this group evolves, how confidence is rebuilt, and how quickly stability can return. Bringing in the right personalities, players who understand the demands and are ready to embrace them immediately, could make a significant difference. At the same time, leaning on those already familiar with the environment might provide the balance needed during a period where too much change could become a risk in itself. And as all of this continues to develop, the pressure does not ease, it only sharpens. Every performance, every selection, every tactical decision is going to be viewed through the lens of what the club is trying to become next. That is the reality of this level, where there is no pause, no chance to reset quietly in the background. Everything plays out in real time, and how the team responds to these challenges will say a lot about what lies ahead in the months to come. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. A cloud of uncertainty appears to be gathering over Celtic FC, as whispers from within the camp suggest growing discontent from one of its emerging voices. Benjamin Arthur, a figure increasingly noticed around the club, has reportedly made a striking remark that is now fueling speculation among supporters and observers alike. According to sources close to the situation, Arthur has not hidden his frustration, hinting that he is unsatisfied with the current state of affairs at the club. While the exact context of his comments remains unclear, the tone has been described as unusually direct, raising eyebrows across the Scottish football landscape. Those familiar with the dressing room dynamics suggest that this may not be an isolated sentiment. There have been murmurs for some time about internal tensions, with questions being quietly asked about direction, consistency, and the broader atmosphere surrounding the squad. Arthur's alleged statement, however, has brought those concerns into sharper focus. Supporters, ever passionate and attentive, have begun to debate what this could mean. Some view it as a sign of ambition, a player demanding higher standards in pursuit of success. Others fear it may hint at deeper unrest that could unsettle the harmony within the squad. Club officials have yet to respond publicly, and there is no indication of any immediate fallout. Still, in a club where expectations are as high as they are at Celtic, even the faintest suggestion of dissatisfaction can quickly become a talking point. For now, it remains firmly in the realm of speculation. Yet, as the story continues to circulate, many will be watching closely to see whether Arthur's reported feelings are addressed, or whether they signal something more significant brewing beneath the surface at Parkhead. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.